The most important metric on TikTok, if you're wanting to get more views on your videos, it isn't how many likes you're getting, it isn't how many comments you're getting, saves, reposts, even average watch time. The one thing that is most important when it comes to getting more views is your completion rate on TikTok. And you see it in your analytics around here. We've not just seen this with our own content, we've seen this with the community of thousands of people we've got, of everybody trying to grow together on TikTok. And as views are all over the place at the moment, the one thing that stands out above everything is if you can get a good completion rate for your video, you will get more views. The actual completion rate you need is going to be completely dependent on the actual length of your video. So it's all going to be relative. So imagine a 10% completion rate on a 6-second video is going to be as impactful as a 1% completion rate on a 60-second video. This is pretty much because we think that TikTok's decided the most valuable content out there is the content that people watch all of the way through and restart. This makes content creation a little bit more tricky for content creators who are trying to get more views, because you need to know how to introduce your video swiftly to make people stick around. You need to know how to get people to stick around throughout the video so they don't leave. And you need to be finishing your videos pretty quickly to make sure people aren't dropping off in the last 10 seconds. This is all down to your hooks, your constant stimulus, and the way you outro your videos. I'm going to get some videos out on each one of these this week in depth on how you can improve them. So make sure you follow so you don't miss them. And of course, as always, we've got that TikTok growth community. So check the link in our bio. You'll either be able to get straight through to it, or there'll be a waitlist for the next launch for you to join. Stop posting your videos without considering TikTok SEO if you're trying to get more views on TikTok, because it simply boils down to this. It does not matter how good your video is. If your video does not land on the right FYP, if you're not getting in front of the right audience, you're not going to get any more views. But what is TikTok SEO and how can you do it so you can start getting more views? I'll run through it quickly, so save this so you can come back to it later. Ask me any questions you've got in the comments and drop us a follow, because we're posting at least twice a day at the moment, sharing all of the tips and tricks that we've learned over the years on TikTok, being responsible for over 1 billion views. So TikTok SEO stands for search engine optimization, and for those of you that didn't know, TikTok is a search engine first. If you don't know what a search engine is, just think of Google. You type something in and something else comes back. Well, TikTok works in a very similar way, obviously with their own search bar, but your FYP is also basically SEO. You're not directly searching for something, but the videos that are landing on your FYP and other people's FYP are based on the kind of interests that TikTok thinks you have. So you've inadvertently told TikTok you want to see these kind of videos. So TikTok SEO essentially makes sure that your videos are understood enough so that they go on the right people's FYPs when TikTok are looking at people's interests. Hopefully that makes sense. If you've got any questions on it, again, just drop them in the comments. But how do you actually use TikTok SEO if you really want to get more views on TikTok? It's so important. Well, let's use the example of Google here. How do you find something that you're looking for on Google? You type something in, whether it be a keyword, a phrase, a question, anything. So in order for you to be understood as something, you have to essentially think of that keyword, phrase, question that you want your video to be understood as. And in order to get it recognized as that, you've got to use whatever you've picked within the audio of your video. That's so important, but you can use it in your descriptions and you can use it in your hashtags. Every time you post a video, think, what are people going to search to find this? And how can I make sure I show up for that? Yes, that makes you show up for search, but the big powerful thing here is it makes you land on the right FYPs as well. Now, if you want to join the community where we've helped Susan gain over 100,000 followers, Andre over 100,000 followers, Layla over 60,000, and so much more, even though everyone's been in their own niche, then we're opening up 50 spots on Friday the 21st of November. If you want to join the waitlist to get access to that, to see some kind of growth, just click the link in our bio. We're already over capacity, and the only way you've got a chance of getting in is by getting on that list.
Okay, so that's number one, is you can differentiate yourself through brand pillars. The best way to do this is by combining two things: fitness plus something more unique. Okay, lifestyle plus something more unique. And then you create this overlap that's really unique. Okay, number two, the second way you can differentiate yourself is your format. What is a content format? A content format is the way your content comes across the screen. Like literally, visually, how does it come across the screen? Right now, you are watching a format that I would call 10-minute talking head. Because it's my head, I'm talking, and this is gonna be like a 10-minute video, which is crazy, okay? That is a counter position, because on TikTok, nobody's ranting for 10 minutes. This is basically a YouTube video, okay? Another example is green screens. If nobody in your niche is doing green screen, you should do green screens. If nobody in your niche is doing vlogs, you should do vlogs. If no one in your niche is doing day one of building this, you should do that. If no one in your niche is using a whiteboard tactic, you should use that. If no one in your niche is using object lessons. This is a great one. Okay, there's this guy in the fitness niche named Jeff Magnus. Okay, and in the fitness niche, you have so many people just lifting weights, whatever. They're just talking in a gym. And what he did is he started buying like basically visuals. Okay, so he has this video that went mega viral every time, and it's a cake. And he cuts the cake into 4 sections, but the cake is different size, and he basically says like, this little percentage is how much fat you lose in the gym, this percentage is how much fat you lose being awake, this is how much fat you lose whenever you're sleeping. But that visual is so unique to the fitness niche. Nobody is sitting at a table and talking through an object lesson in the fitness niche, and he's absolutely crushing it. Okay, I know his content director, and they are wizards at this. Okay, the third way you can differentiate yourself is your delivery. How do you deliver? Okay, Davi Gazelle is the king of this. He's just authentic, hilarious, humorous, energetic. That's one way. You can also go the opposite direction. Greg Eisenberg. Greg Eisenberg is a very monotonous, kind of analytical, nerdy approch. Okay, for me, I try to do more stories, more quotes, a little bit more, I don't know, I just spitball. It just kind of happens, all right? Because there's so many people who are scripting. I encounter positioning as going the opposite way. No scripting. You're going to get me rambling, pausing, doing weird things, talking about paraplegics in third world countries. It just kind of is what it is. That's what you're going to get with me. But you can counter position with your delivery and the way that you talk about content. Maybe you're a historical storyteller. Okay, that's a great example of how to counter position. Maybe you always bring in statistics and talk about research studies. Maybe you break down books. Okay, Founders Podcast is an example of this. He reads a book and then he makes a podcast about the book. So instead of having 2 people at a table with microphones talking about their week in the podcast world, he reads a biography, breaks down the biography into a 1-hour podcast and delivers it to you. That's a counter position in the delivery style. Okay, number 4, we can differentiate ourselves with our positioning. Okay, positioning is somewhat synonymous with niche, but what I mean by this is you can go upstream, downstream, cross stream. Okay, upstream. Let's say I am in the pool installation content niche. I can go upstream, and I can be now pool installations for luxury homes. I can go downstream, cheap, affordable pool installations. I can also go cross stream, where we could pick a more, it's the same affordability, but it's a different category, right? So now it's pool installations in the Pacific Northwest, pool installations